The PlayStation Store is running a ridiculous amount of deals right now with the spring sale, but one deal that really caught my eye was the Metal Gear Solid 5, the Definitive Experience deal. It is 70% off, down to just $5.99, and that's a great buy. And I also thought this would be a good time to talk a little bit about the game, give it a recommendation and everything like that, because this is a game with such a storied history, and with the PlayStation 4's life coming to an end very soon with the release of the PlayStation 5, this is honestly going to be one of the most iconic games of this generation. Maybe for all of the wrong reasons, because of everything that went down with Hideo Kojima and Konami, and that really spawned what Kojima is doing now alongside Sony, and he's kind of doing his own thing, which is really great to see. But Metal Gear Solid 5, the Definitive Experience, just so I can shoehorn in an advertisement for the game to let you guys know what you're getting with this. This is the ultimate collection of the MGS5 story, which includes the critically acclaimed Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain, its prologue, MGS5 Ground Zeroes, multiplayer Metal Gear Online, and all of their DLC content. Now, Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes was a pretty interesting release, as I believe it released at $39.99. Yeah, it was $40 on the PlayStation 4, and then they released it at $30 on the PlayStation 3. Probably not worth that price, but guess what? Everybody was so eager to just get a taste of Metal Gear Solid that we ended up buying it anyway. And was it worth the $40 to a big Metal Gear fan? It probably was, just to get a taste of the MGS5 experience, and it set the table for what we were to get in the Phantom Pain. Obviously, with this collection, you get Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain, the base game, which has claimed more than 60 industry accolades, including a 10 out of 10 from IGN and GameSpot. I think a lot of people disagreed with that sentiment, but nonetheless, I thought it was a very good game. Probably wouldn't go 10 out of 10. Offers limitless possibilities for the players to infiltrate enemy outposts in a vast open world, the player to decide the route, tactics, and timing that can lead to the success of the mission. Metal Gear Online is built around a dedicated squad-based competitive multiplayer structure, which has been fully redesigned with the familiar gameplay and aesthetic styling of the MGS series. On top of all of that, you get 36 DLC items and additional content, including 2 extra missions, additional weapons, and items used for customization. Now, Metal Gear Solid 5, in short, I thought was a fantastic game. I thought they did a lot of right, specifically, obviously, Hideo Kojima, but I thought the entire team did so much right with a Metal Gear Solid 5 from a gameplay standpoint. I was a little bit hesitant to think about Metal Gear in an open world environment. That was really the main cause of my skepticism leading into the game, and of course we heard about all of the turmoil that development went through. But from a gameplay standpoint, I was just thinking, man, I don't know if that stealth action gameplay is going to work in an open world environment, and boy oh boy was I wrong about that, because I thought MGS5 transitioned the MGS gameplay magnificently into an open world game. A lot of the times you see the open world nature of some of these games, and it's really popular to do open world games, as I'm sure you guys are very aware of. That open world label just holds a lot of weight, but for a lot of games, just going even more open is more of a hindrance to the game rather than it actually being beneficial to the overall quality of the game. We've seen this countless times, but Metal Gear Solid 5 was different in the sense that that open world only just complemented the gameplay. The gameplay did not have to alter to confide in an open world. Rather, it was almost like the gameplay could have always fit in an open world game, but that open world complemented the gameplay and made a lot more variety and options in the stealth options of Metal Gear Solid 5, and I thought they just did a tremendous job of creating an open world Metal Gear experience that still felt authentic as a Metal Gear game. When you're playing Metal Gear Solid 5, it still feels like a Metal Gear game, and that's really hard to do when you're taking an experience that was so linear and you're dropping it in an open world, and a vast open world at that. It's not like Metal Gear Solid 5 is like a Mirror's Edge Catalyst type of open world where it's a little bit smaller and things of that nature. It's a significant open world, and that alone, fundamentally, from a gameplay standpoint, could have been an absolute train wreck, but it was far from that. Now, the thing with MGS5 that people are going to go back to is obviously the narrative and the storytelling. It's a lot different than the previous Metal Gear games. You can obviously see that. You look at Metal Gear Solid 4, you're talking about lengthy cutscenes. At times, many would say that they're a little bit long-winded. I came to expect that from Metal Gear, and I thought that was one of the reasons that Metal Gear was so well received. Obviously, from a narrative standpoint, that's Metal Gear's strongest element. The gameplay is tremendous, but that narrative in Metal Gear, one of the most intriguing and engaging stories that you're gonna come across in a video game franchise, and the way that each game connects to one another, we're talking dating back to the NES titles, it's pretty magnificent to see. And if you're just getting into Metal Gear for the first time, I don't think MGS5 is a bad starting point because the story is so different, and if you work your way up from MGS 1 through 4, and then you jump into Metal Gear Solid 5, well, then you're opening yourself up to a little bit of disappointment from the fact that Metal Gear Solid 5's story is a little bit bare bones at the surface. When you're talking about the cutscenes and everything like that, yeah, it is a little bit bare bones. However, the world at MGS5 is really fleshed out with the use of audio cassette tapes, and yes, maybe you might be thinking that just listening to audio, that might not be the best thing in the world, especially to flesh out a story. However, I have to say that I found the narrative pieces with these audio cassette tapes to be one of the most engrossing things, and there were times where I listened to some of those audio cassette tapes multiple times, and you just want to get every little word out of it possible because every word means so much, and it does add a layer to the story. Now, obviously, would I have preferred something like a Metal Gear Solid 4? Probably at the end of the day, just because that was the Metal Gear I knew and loved, but Metal Gear Solid 5 offered a different style of narrative that I also found incredibly engaging. Now, the legacy of this game is rather interesting because I think while most people did enjoy the game, let's just pull up the Metacritic score. I believe it's very high. It's gotta be in the low to mid 90s. And you are talking about, in fact, a 93 as a Metascore. However, if you actually look at the user score, which on Metacritic I do sometimes take with a little bit of a grain of salt, it is an 8.2. That is a little bit of a drop-off. I think objectively, if you assess Metal Gear Solid 5 from its gameplay standpoint, and you almost have to strip away the fact that it is a Metal Gear game. If this game was just called The Phantom Pain, I think people would be really, really enthralled by the game. However, that was not the case, and it was a Metal Gear title. So I could understand why people would have their hesitancy, but at this point, if you're looking to buy Metal Gear Solid 5, the definitive experience, you're probably the kind of person that hasn't played the Metal Gear games in the past. So, like I said, I think this is a great starting point, and it is going to be interesting to see how this game is received 5-10 years down the line. Is it going to be received as this black sheep of Metal Gear? I think that is unavoidable of the fact that there was so many complications with the development of this game. There was so much turmoil between Konami and Hideo Kojima, a relationship that just exploded with the release of this game, and we don't really regularly see that in gaming, like a relationship that was pretty long-lasting just explode like that and disintegrate in front of our very eyes. It was quite a scene leading up to the release of this game, and I thought it turned out to be a great game, but the legacy of this game is going to be something rather interesting to assess. So if you guys haven't yet to play Metal Gear Solid 5, this is a great buy right now, and I'm really curious to hear your guys' opinion. What do you guys think of MGS5? Are you in agreement with the high review scores? Are you in agreement with that low 90 score? Or was this a game, as a longtime Metal Gear fan, did it fall a little bit to the wayside? Were you not as big of a fan of it? Because if you're of that mindset, I really can't argue with it. I just found the world so engrossing. I found the open world fantastic. I thought the gameplay was some of the best that we've seen out of a Metal Gear game, and again, the storytelling that was there, I thought they did a pretty good job with it, and I give Hideo Kojima a lot of credit. I don't know exactly the type of issues he was dealing with, but he did a pretty damn good job with everything that was going on, and I thought the game turned out rather well. So $5.99 for that on the PlayStation Store right now. One of the better deals that I've seen all year on the PSN Store, and one that I really wanted to highlight in a separate video, just because it also gave me a chance to talk about Metal Gear Solid 5 while also highlighting a great deal. Of course, we will have more coverage of the PSN Spring Sale and highlighting some of the best deals, but this is definitely a great one, even though MGS5 has been a PlayStation Plus title in the past. If you missed out on that, or you want all of the additional content, remember, you get Ground Zeroes as well, so this is a really great purchase. That's going to conclude this video. Sound off with all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.